today on Good Morning BU.
The death toll in the explosion of the UPS cargo plane that crashed Tuesday has risen to 13 people, and 9 still remain missing.
Boston is suing the Trump administration for changing student loan rules.
This past Tuesday, Michelle Wu was re-elected to serve a second term in office as Boston's mayor.
BU starts a reading initiative to foster community on campus.
BU women's sports have been dominating Nickerson Field. Our sports correspondents are here to give you all the details on women's soccer and field hockey.
And a musical theater star joins us live in studio to talk about BU on Broadway's Big Fish show this weekend.
Live from Studio West in the College of Communication, Good Morning BU starts right now. Hello and welcome to Good Morning BU. I'm Natalie Lett.
And I'm Kara Mem. Here are today's top stories. The death toll from Typhoon Kaomegai rose to 188 this morning after the storm wreaked havoc across the central Philippines earlier this week, leaving over 100 still missing. The central province of Cebu bore the brunt of casualties after the first wave of heavy rains set off flash floods in residential communities, forcing residents to move above ground. Some families were even seen trapped on the rooftops as they waited for evacuation. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. addressed the nation to provide updates about emergency response.
There was a proposal from the NDRMC, which I approved, that we will declare a national calamity.
The fast-moving storm has since passed the South China Sea and has made its way to central Vietnam, resulting in at least 5 deaths so far there.
The death toll in the explosion of the UPS cargo plane that crashed Tuesday has risen to 13 people, and 9 of them still remain missing. The plane was taking off from the Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport and was headed to Honolulu when the left wing caught fire and the engine detached. The plane, with a crew of 3, was carrying around 38,000 gallons of fuel on board, creating a massive explosion to nearby businesses when it erupted into flames. Witnesses say the wreckage was, quote, indescribable.
When she was FaceTiming me, a massive explosion occurred, and she said to me, the scrap office blew up. And it was like hell's fury. I mean, it was indescribable. People screaming, people running, people trying to help each other.
The cause of the crash is still under investigation. However, the plane is reported to be 34 years old and needed a critical repair on its fuel tank in September. The governor of Kentucky declared a state of emergency while recovery efforts continue.
A 4% reduction in domestic flights is in effect following an order from the Federal Aviation Administration. It currently affects 40 of the nation's busiest airports, and further cuts are planned in the coming days due to limited staffing from the government shutdown. Travelers have reported difficulties even while in air.
And texted us, said that the plane couldn't land, plane couldn't land. It was in a holding pattern above.
The FAA administration says the move will ease pressure on short-staffed air traffic control centers, which have been struggling as controllers work without pay. The reductions are projected to cause thousands of flight delays and cancellations every day.
The effects of the government shutdown have not stopped at cuts to air traffic. Citizens around the United States are searching for new options as the government halted payments covering telehealth through Medicare. The use of telehealth and Medicare grew in popularity during the COVID pandemic. It allows patients to see their doctor virtually. Even large hospital systems are reported to not have enough funding to continue offering these services without government reimbursement. Though hospitals tried to cover telehealth through Medicare at the beginning of the shutdown, now they are asking patients to make in-person appointments.
While the government shutdown is impacting health services, community-based organizations are stepping up to support those who need it. Our correspondent, Maria Pemberton, found out how camaraderie and peer support made a difference for one mother in her addiction recovery journey.
Hundreds of people from across the state marched through Boston Common to uplift the voices in addiction recovery. I've been in and out of recovery for almost 20 years.
Stephanie Weaver is one of those voices, a mother whose children motivated her to achieve sobriety.
It's really important for me because, so my children, number one, to be a good figure to them, to be a good mother, to be supportive and empathetic. All the things I try to be to myself, I try to do with my kids.
Stephanie spent the day with members of Alyssa's Place, the peer recovery and resource center that helped her overcome addiction. She says camaraderie is key to staying on track.
Give yourself a little bit of grace, stay confident, and if you have support, use it in your early recovery.
The Massachusetts Organization for Addiction Recovery, also known as MORE, put on the walk. MORE brought in speakers and set up resources for support. Since 1991, MORE has connected people like Stephanie to recovery groups like Alyssa's Place. MORE organizer Hannah Coper says this work is personal. Community played a key role in her family's road to recovery.
The opposite of addiction is connection, and you're not going to recover in isolation. So the best thing that you can do is find that connection with folks, and how do you find connection is in community.
Stephanie says the future in addiction recovery is bright.
I just celebrated my year clean, September 19th.
State data shows that overdose-related deaths in Massachusetts fell by 30% last year. Hannah says the organization is planning to do even more by organizing holiday events for people in recovery and backing the H2196 bill, which aims to increase access to treatment and prevent overdose deaths. Reporting for BU TV, I'm Maria Pemberton.
Thank you, Maria. Mental and physical health benefits alike are suffering from funding cuts. Medicare is only one aid program affected, and our live shot correspondent George Lieben is live at BU Food Pantry to tell us about another, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP benefits. George, what can you tell us?
Good morning, Natalie. That's right. A federal judge ruled that the Trump administration must fully provide funding for food stamps in November. U.S. District Judge John McConnell in Rhode Island ruled on Thursday that SNAP benefits have to be fully funded by today. The ruling requires funds to be directed towards child nutrition programs for the nearly 42 million Americans that depend on SNAP. But the Trump administration filed a notice shortly after the ruling saying it will appeal the order to fund SNAP benefits in full. Last week, rulings from McConnell and a federal judge in Boston required the U.S. Department of Agriculture to provide support for the program amid the ongoing government shutdown. And on Monday, the administration responded by saying it will use contingency funds to partially fund the program in November. Governor Maura Healey has criticized the administration, saying, quote, "It shouldn't take multiple court orders for the president to feed children, veterans, seniors, and people with disabilities." Food pantries like the BU Food Pantry behind me here are helping students and those facing food insecurity as funding for SNAP benefits is still undecided. For Good Morning BU, I'm George Lehman, and back to you in the studio, Kara.
Thanks, George. Well, come back to campus with us after this break to hear about the Women in Business Conference at Questrom this weekend and the Men's March down Comm Ave. Wait a second. Wait.
Welcome back. Pro-life men marched down Commonwealth Avenue for the fourth time last Saturday in a protest against abortion. It was organized by the Men's March, an anti-abortion group that advocates for the belief that life begins at conception. The Men's March was escorted by Boston police from Planned Parenthood all the way down to the Boston Common, where they were met with dozens of counter-protesters. Despite this, no arrests were made.
Halfway through the semester, BU is reflecting on their new reading initiative called BU Common Read. This is a program that encourages freshmen and transfer students to read the same book with hopes to foster community and connections. This year's pick is Orbital. It's a Booker Prize winning novel by Samantha Harvey, which was selected by a team from BU libraries. The book, which follows 6 astronauts circling Earth and the International Space Station, is one that BU officials hope will resonate with new students who find themselves in a new place. While the program was designed with the freshest members of BU in mind, Common Read is open to all faculty, staff, and students. Mugar Memorial Library has extra copies of the book on its shelves if you're thinking of giving it a read.
Calling all women in business. Her network is set to host the 2025 Women Mean Business Conference this Saturday, November 8th at 10 a.m. in the Questrom School of Business. This one-day event is all about empowering the next generation of female leaders, with a keynote address, personal branding workshop, 5 industry panels, and a roundtable networking session. Attendees will hear from speakers representing McKinsey, Wayfair, Novartis, and many more. All companies will share insights on various leadership, strategy, DEI, and innovation. Students are encouraged to dress professionally, bring their energy, and get ready to connect, learn, and be inspired.
In other BU news, our interview correspondent, Gabrielle Seawade, met with student app developers who are fighting the loneliness epidemic from BU's campus.
Data from Northwell Health ranked Boston as one of the loneliest cities in the country. But 3 BU students are working to change that with an app designed to bring people together.
We were tasked with coming up with some product that would help students specifically, and we thought we would take this idea of wanting to find friends and figuring out a way to have a unique spin on it, and that's when we came up with the idea for Misconnections.
Frank Yang, Joseph Murata, and Jody Young are 3 of 5 BU students that created Misconnections, an app that uses location-based matching to connect like-minded students.
I think for me specifically, coming into college, I was the only person from my high school who went to BU, so I didn't have that immediate community right out of the door, and I think just providing that for freshmen on campus, I know for me it would have went a really long way.
In May, the team came in first place at a student well-being competition, winning $6,000 to continue developing the app. Frank Yang said the team is working to make Misconnections the solution to the loneliness problem.
So one of our biggest issues we're running into right now is that every college student says they want more friends. Everyone can say, hey, I want to extend my social circle, I want to meet more people, etc. But we find that a lot of people, even though they say that, won't take any actionable steps into actually doing that. And that goes so far as installing an app to find friends, or going on to Instagram and then scroll and searching to find a new friend. People won't do that despite wanting more friends. And our goal is to try to figure out through Misconnections, how can we bridge that gap between people's desires to make friends at college campuses and actually making friends.
The CDC reports that nearly half of U.S. adults experience loneliness. The creators of Misconnections hope to change that by connecting BU students to make long-lasting friendships. From Good Morning BU, I'm Gabrielle Seawade.
Thanks, Gabrielle. After the break, we'll turn to the greater Boston area to talk about election results from the mayoral and city council races.
Oh, it's right.
If you're buzzed and doing this, to make yourself feel okay to drive,
ZWX.
you're not okay to drive.
YGKLVW. Regular you.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is, fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kids should know.
Welcome back. Michelle Wu was re-elected to serve a second term in office as Boston's mayor this Tuesday. The mayor ran unopposed as her closest opponent, Josh Kraft, dropped out of the race when Wu beat him by 48 points in the September preliminary election. Wu won Tuesday's election with about 93% of the vote, while the remaining 7% went to write-in candidates. In her first term, Wu's immigration policy was critiqued by President Trump. At her victory party, Wu indicated she would not back down after re-election.
We faced a choice: cave to the pressure, backtrack and change course, or double down on the values that founded our nation.
In her second term, Wu says she will continue her focus on key issues for Boston voters, including public transportation and housing, to make Boston a home for all.
In other election news, Boston City Council has a new District 7 representative, Minyard Culpepper. Culpepper beat Saeed Aman in a tight race that was the sole council contest without an incumbent. The district includes Roxbury, Dorchester, the South End, and parts of Fenway. The area has been without council representation since July, when Tanya Fernandez Anderson resigned after pleading guilty to corruption charges. Culpepper, who is a pastor and a previous U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development attorney, aims to lead by example.
And as a pastor of a church, you have to have a life that is going to be looked at very closely, a life that folks will look up to as a role model. And so I come to District 7, and I'll continue to lead the way I've been leading.
Culpepper said he promises to address issues such as housing, affordability, drug use, and homelessness during his tenure.
The City of Boston and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts are joining other cities in suing the Trump administration for changing national student loan forgiveness rules. The program originally forgave any federal student loan debt for public service employees who choose to complete 10 years of service to their communities. Now, the Secretary of Education will have the sole power to disqualify employees who are accused of substantially illegal activities. Since Boston's addition, Albuquerque, San Francisco, and Chicago have also joined the lawsuit.
9 car wash employees in Allston were arrested in a recent ICE raid on Tuesday, taking place just several streets away from BU's main campus. ICE agents entered the car wash in non-labeled police cars and proceeded to block both the entrance and exit as the officers detained 9 people. Stephen Garces, an employee who works across the street from the Allston car wash, explained what he saw.
They're all undercover. They all look like regular cars. They all came in. It was about 14, 15 cars deep.
The owner of the car wash said that at least 5 of the workers had their documentation. However, authorities were not allowing the employees to grab those papers from inside the building. The recent raid sparked combination, and the community resulted in residents taking to the streets of Boston to show their disapproval.
2 men are accused of setting off a large firework at Harvard Medical School on Saturday. U.S. Attorney Leah Foley stated that the culprits were identified.
Following the release of the suspects' photos, members of the public called authorities, identifying Cardoza and Patterson as the alleged culprits.
Security footage showed 18-year-old Logan David Patterson and 20-year-old Dominic Frank Cardoza climbing over fences to access the roof of the Goldenson building. The firework left no structural damage, but both men are expected in federal court. If convicted, both men will face up to 5 years in prison and up to $250,000 in fines.
Up next, we're going to be heading back to ComAv to find out how the women's soccer team has been doing and what's in store for them this weekend.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Okay. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Welcome back. Patriot League playoffs for many BU fall sport teams are well underway. And we have our sports correspondents Anthony Gazowski and Hannah Connors in studio this morning to recap some recent playoff highlights. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, Kara. With winter around the corner, some BU fall sports teams are in the thick of Patriot League tournament play. And lucky for us, 2 Terrier teams are looking to clinch tournament titles this weekend. Hannah, why don't you start us off by talking about the women's field hockey team?
Sure thing, Anthony.
the Terriers took down the #1 seeded American University in underdog fashion. Coming into the postseason, BU had a losing record of 7-10, but an overtime win against Colgate allowed the team to make the postseason in the 4th seeded slot. The Terriers faced American and DC, where they were largely outplayed. The Eagles maintained the majority of possessions in their 8 corners compared to BU's 1, but stellar defense and 2 saves from junior goalkeeper Sophie Ortle kept American off the board. Junior midfielder Nicole Laurel tapped in the ball off a beauty of a feed from freshman Delphi Colo, scoring the only goal of the game and carrying the Terriers to the championship. Now, field hockey is not the only team going to the championship this weekend, are they, Anthony?
That's right, Hannah. The women's soccer team kept their clean sheet streak alive as they shut out Lafayette 4-0 to head back to the Patriot League championship game. After a scoreless first half, the Terriers dominated possession, and let's just say the floodgates opened after that first goal. Now check out this beautiful feat from sophomore forward Olivia Avalar, who found junior Ava McGuire wide open to open the score. McGuire would add another goal later in the half, and Patriot League Midfielder of the Year senior Juliana Giannino would tally 3 assists, matching a single-game program record. With this dominant performance, they're looking to compete their Patriot League title defense against Army.
Now, field hockey will face Lafayette on Saturday in DC, but if you want to catch a championship game in person, the women's soccer team will compete right at BU's very own Nickerson Field this Sunday. Anthony, do you think you'll be there?
Oh, definitely. I'm really excited to see how things will play out.
Me too. Now let's kick it back to the desk.
Thanks, guys, but I'll leave the kicking to the soccer team. Stay with us after this break to hear about what to do in Boston this weekend.
1 minute break.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work,
Okay,
he
in case you have to
finally
do-
found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
Eva Marie smoked 12,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit, and now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Welcome back. With just 2 weekends to go before Thanksgiving, I'm looking for things to do in Boston. Francis, can you help me out with that?
Burr, 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 it's getting chilly out there, but don't worry, we've got plenty of ways to heat up your weekend. Kick off your Saturday with a thrill. Catch the SMU Mustangs take on the BC Eagles at the Alumni Stadium at 12 p.m. Keep the excitement going and head to the Boston Theater of Magic at the Liberty Hotel for a 90-minute jaw-dropping illusion, magic, and surprises with magician Christopher Wayne. This Sunday, roll up your sleeves for Sushi Making 101 with Chef Harold, who will bring his expertise from California to Boston. From shrimp tempura hand rolls to spicy tuna rolls, it'll surely hit your souls. And to wrap it all up, sip, savor, and soak in the smooth sounds of jazz at the Bank Seafood and Steak. It's the perfect way to end your weekend with a peaceful break. All right, that's it for the weekend roundup. This is Francis Palacios.
Thanks, Francis. The music industry is feeling the effects after a major music publisher announced that AI companies have illegally scraped copyrighted music from famous artists. Our arts and entertainment correspondent, Francis, spoke to BU music students about their thoughts.
By the International Confederation of Music Publishers, or ICMP, has revealed that major AI companies have stolen copyright-protected music from millions of songwriters and artists, such as the Beatles, Mariah Carey, and Beyoncé, without proper licensing to train generative artificial intelligence systems. The College of Fine Arts students say they are concerned about what could happen to the creative rights of aspiring songwriters and musicians, especially with AI being more integrated in the industry.
I think it's upsetting to hear that major AI companies are stealing music, but it's definitely not surprising. Art is something that is human. Automated machine, robots stealing something from a human, that's not beautiful. It's just a waste.
Emmeline Kraft, a CFA music student, says that the rise of AI will only further downplay the contributions of musicians and artists.
Artists already don't get the compensation they deserve. For some reason, our society just has a thing for not paying us, for not giving us recognition, and don't want to acknowledge the work that goes into it. It's not right.
The ICMP calls this the largest intellectual property theft in human history. The music industry is now demanding stricter licensing deals and regulations, ensuring that current and future artists are properly credited in the age of AI. Reporting for Good Morning BU, I am Francis Palacios.
Thanks, Francis. Well, the music industry isn't the only one feeling the impacts of AI. The app Sora 2 is letting users generate videos from just a few words, and BU film students say they're worried about the future of their field. Lifestyle correspondent Chloe Tarian brings us the mixed reactions to this technology.
1 year ago, Sora 1 redefined what was possible with moving images. Today, we're announcing the Sora app, powered by the all-new Sora 2.
OpenAI's newest app, Sora 2, is rewriting the rules of video creation and breaking download records. The text-to-video tool hit 1 million downloads in less than 5 days. The app can turn a few words, like a golden retriever driving a car or Jake Paul doing his makeup, into a realistic 10-second video. Users have even been able to put themselves in pieces of media, like movies and music videos from historical time periods. Boston University's interactive media professor Margaret Wallace explains the enjoyment of Sora from simply messing around with the basics.
It was super easy to use it. I received an invitation from somebody who was already on the app, and that's how they've been disseminating the app mostly. And it was super easy to create my first cameo. And for those of you who haven't used Sora yet, a cameo is basically a 3D representation of you that you can incorporate into AI-generated videos using Sora 2.
But the app raises concerns about content creator integrity. Specifically, film students worry, what does this mean for their career? A lot of work goes into making a film. There's multiple steps. Development, pre-production, production, post-production, everything. It's a ton of work. I think Sora 2 is probably going to do a lot of damage to the film industry. I think a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, and I don't know, I think it might get rid of the integrity of some of the films. Whether it's creativity or controversy, Sora 2 shows just how fast AI and our debates about it are evolving. As technology moves faster than ever, BU students are engaged yet mindful about exploring its possibilities. Reporting for Good Morning BU, I'm Chloe Tarian.
Thanks, Chloe. Staying on campus, our interview correspondent, Joanna Malvis, is joined by a special guest who's going to tell us about the opening night of her musical, Big Fish. Joanna, be the hero and take it away.
Thank you so much, Natalie. I am so excited to be joined by a BU on Broadway veteran, Ella McDonnell. Ella, thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so BU on Broadway just had its first night of Big Fish. What can you tell me about the show?
Okay, the show is so much fun. It's very fantastical, and it's really rooted in a story about a father and a son, but there's a lot of stories being told. So the father, he tells these stories about his life, the circus, and a giant and a witch, and very fantastical adventures that he goes on. So it's really fun.
Yeah, that sounds very family-friendly, very heartwarming. What about your role in the show?
Yeah, I'm playing one of the little lambs. I'm featured in the circus scene, and then I'm also in the featured ensemble, so I get to do a lot of amazing things, different roles, and then I also dance a lot, which I'm having a lot of fun with.
I'm very jealous. I'm so uncoordinated. I cannot dance. But yeah, like I said, you're a veteran. You've been on BU on Broadway. This must be very sentimental given this is your last fall show. So how are you feeling?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely feeling very emotional. I've been really lucky to have been in BU on Broadway before, and I've had a really good run. So I'm glad this is, a show for my last fall, and hopefully next semester as well, there'll be some great opportunities. So.
Yeah, and so how can our viewers grab tickets for the show this weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the show is tonight at 8 p.m. and tomorrow at 8 p.m. and the tickets are available on the BU on Broadway website or the Instagram and on Eventbrite.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and back to the desk.
Well, that's going to do it here this morning at Good Morning BU. I'm Kara Mem.
And I'm Natalie Lett. Stay safe and have a great weekend.